Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's event, Rising This Fall, Equipping Staff and Job Seekers for the Coming Slam. As unemployment benefits are ending, kids are going back to school, and we learn to live better with COVID, it is anticipated that millions of job seekers will flood the job market and American job centers across the nation. With the increasing demand for your services and competition for jobs heating up, job seekers will need to stand out in a talented pool of candidates. Today, our speakers, Kirkland Murray and Elisabeth Sanders-Park, will share information about the emerging landscape and action steps you can take to immediately add in-demand, essential soft skills training to your programs to help your job seekers stand out. I'll turn it over to Kirkland Murray. Welcome.
Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everyone, and good late morning to our friends out on the West Coast. My name is Kirkland Murray. I'm President and CEO of Arundel Workforce Development Corporation. We are the workforce entity here in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, that lies between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. I also have the pleasure of being one of the two representatives on the board of directors for the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals representing the state of Maryland. So it's my honor to be here today with you to talk to you about this very important topic about how do we really prepare our job seekers to go back to work. And it's my honor and my privilege to be here with my partner and my friend, world-renowned trainer, speaker, Elisabeth Sanders-Park. Elisabeth?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kirk. It is a pleasure to be here with you all. I am Elisabeth Sanders-Park. Perhaps we've met. For more than 20 years, I've been helping workforce organizations, employment and careers organizations, and education and training organizations do their work better and serve their job-seeking clients better. I co-wrote the book, One Is Unemployable, as well as the 6 reasons you'll get the job. And I did the research and the writing on the soft skills curriculum called the Workplace Excellence Series in partnership with Kirk and AAWDC. So good to be here with you all. Kirk, it's always good to be with you. I would love to start with sort of a big picture question. You are a local workforce director, and I'd love to know, what are you seeing in your local area, especially since the federal unemployment programs have ended?
Well, thank you, Elisabeth, and thanks for that question. I mean, in the state of Maryland, in the beginning of September, all of the extended pandemic assistance unemployment benefits came to an end. And myself, all of my colleagues in workforce development, the governor, our county exec, everyone thought that we will have job seekers rushing into our doors and really looking to go back to work. I mean, they have no income, unemployment. A lot of them were relying on unemployment, and those benefits have come to an end or have been reduced. They definitely weren't getting the $300 extended benefits, but we haven't seen that happen yet. They have not come in yet. What we're anticipating now is that we will get people in waves. We will get someone soon, some people this fall that really need to go back to work. Once schools are more stabilized and parents feel confident that schools aren't going to close down or that their kids aren't going to be sent home because they've come in contact with a child or a classmate that has tested positive for the virus, then we think that people will start coming back in. We know that a lot of mothers have left the workforce because they were taking care of children, homeschooling, and things like this. We think it's going to be about the spring or even a year from now before we start seeing them ready to go back into the workforce. But we thought that it was very important for us to prepare for this. So we've done this. We've continued to deliver services virtually. We've increased and prepared and set up trainings for individuals to go into working with our businesses. We thought that it was very important
Can I call you back?
We really wanted to make sure that it was very important that we set, services in place so that people don't have to settle for survival jobs, that people actually have the ability to take the time to go into training. Our county, we were fortunate, our county gave us an allocation from their American Recovery funding to be able to support individuals while they're in training if they don't have any income, so they don't have to take survival jobs. And then, of course, we're still, just like I'm sure all my colleagues on here and people working in workforce centers are dealing with, that we have on the other side, that businesses are coming to us and they're really looking for employees. They're having a hard time getting employees. Many companies, both large and small, are now offering signing bonuses and hiring incentives and things like that. And we're looking at how do we support businesses with that. So it's still a busy time for us, even though that rush has not happened yet. We are still spending a lot of time preparing for that and making sure that we're here and be able to serve both our job seekers and our businesses whenever they decide to re-engage in the workforce development system.
I do think that's one of the lessons and sort of the observations we're all making right now, that we thought we'd have this huge slam and it's going to come in more like a tsunami. It's going to be big, but over time, and that really does give us a chance to prepare and to respond. So Kirk, I know that the organization that you lead, AAWDC Central Maryland, like many organizations across the country, you all take a very demand-driven approach. I work all over the country. I think you all do a particularly good job of that. You really have your finger on the pulse of what businesses need. And I'm curious, what are you hearing from your businesses about their current needs and their future needs?
So, like I was saying, the one thing that has been steady and has come in is businesses looking for a workforce. So we work very closely with our businesses to make sure that we're helping them to attract candidates. And one of the things that we're hearing now, we used to hear this in the past, but we're definitely hearing now, just give me someone that have those essential workplace skills. There's someone that can show up on time, do the job, and really, really, help me grow my business and really be a good, dedicated employee. So they're compromising a little bit on the hard skills. They say, we'll train them, but just give me someone with those essential skills, those, be able to communicate, show up to work on time, those type of things. So that's what we've been really hearing from my businesses, that those hard skills, they're still important, but they're not as important as those essential skills. So that's why this topic is so important.
So this is a real area of expertise for me, this idea of essential soft skills. And I think one of the challenges with soft skills is that they are not tidy. They're not exact. If they were easy to teach, everyone would be doing it. But if you've done this work for any time at all, you've heard employers say what Kirk just said. Send me the right person, I'll teach them the skills. They're not going to teach somebody to be a surgeon, but for low-level jobs, for mid-level jobs, and right now, even for upper mid-level jobs, employers are willing to teach the technical skills. They don't want to teach the soft skills. So this means for us as workforce development providers, it's a perfect opportunity for us to serve our job-seeking clients and our businesses. The challenge is that it's not easy, it's not tidy. When employers say soft skills, when we did the research for the Workplace Excellence series, one of the things that we discovered is employers, they don't call themselves employers, business owners, professionals, directors, managers, those who run businesses and hire, we'll call them employers. They use the same language to mean very different things when it comes to soft skills. Sometimes they use different language to mean the same thing. So we have really had to sit with employers and learn from them. What do you mean by that? How do you know it when you see it? How do you define it? How will you measure it? How do you know you're hiring for it? And helping them feedback to us what they need and what they want so that we can then teach our job-seeking clients and even some people who are already hired incumbent workers what is meant by those soft skills. Here's a boiled down sort of definition of soft skills. They are the skills that help us be good at almost any job. Whether you're a VP of marketing or a cashier, whether you're a surgeon or a driver, these are the things that make us really good at any job, which means they're highly transferable. And one of my favorite terms for soft skills is uniquely human skills. As we automate more and more functions, the things that are left for us to do in the workforce require more and more uniquely human skills. So when we think of soft skills, we want to be thinking like employers think about soft skills.
So that's very good, Elizabeth, and you're 100% correct, and that's what we're hearing from our employers. But what I would like to ask you is, as an expert on soft skills, and knowing that we're just coming out of COVID-19, and it has changed the workforce, it has drastically changed the workforce. What changes do you see now that these soft skills play? What role do you think these soft skills play now in the job market?
So we were already experiencing a huge shift. If you all think about the skills that made someone a great worker in the 20th century, they're not the skills that make us great workers in the 21st century. The ability to show up, suit up, be on time, on task, follow directions, do your piece, hit your deadlines. That's what made us great in the last century. If you've ever read the book by Daniel Pink, I recommend it. He's written a lot of good stuff, but A Whole New Mind is really about the superpowers that make us great for the 21st century. And guess what? They're soft skills. They're uniquely human skills. It's not put your uniform on and show up as one in the crowd. It is be creative, bring meaning and play, be adaptable, right? Be dependable, communicate well. They're very different skills. So that was already happening. We know, even in the time that we've been in the workforce, that the role of automation is rising. And we're essentially in a situation where anything that can be automated is going to be automated. And that means that now we know that automation is not going to do away with jobs outright, but it's going to pull functions from most jobs, leaving the uniquely human skills. So this is already happening, and COVID has completely expedited this. Think about it. Retail has automated so much. Restaurants have automated. Workforce development's automate. Everybody's automated because employers had to send their employees home. So they had to do more with fewer humans. Now we're in a situation where employers are begging for humans, and they're not getting enough, which means they're getting even more creative about how can we do more with fewer humans. So the things that will get us and get our clients hired moving forward are increasingly the soft skills, because that's what's left to do. Employers are willing to teach the hard skills. They'd rather that we come with them, but they'll teach those. They're not going to teach the soft skills unless they really have to. Kind of right now, they kind of have to, and they're still holding out for us to do it. So it's this amazing opportunity for our systems to respond to that. So Kirk, I'm curious, as we talk about this, the current landscape, the future needs of employers, where do you see the role of workforce development organizations in addressing the need, especially for essential soft skills? What's our role, and how do we step up and do that?
So, I mean, here in Anne Arundel County, the approach that we've always taken is that we want to make sure that we prepare our job seekers for our businesses, that they have both these soft essential skills that businesses are asking for and have the hard skills. So we've done this in several different ways. You know, the way that we find that is more successful is kind of blending the two together. So we work with our training providers as they're doing those hard skills. We're asking them, and maybe our staff is coming in the middle of the training or a part of the training and doing those essential skills training. So all of our staff are certified to deliver the Workplace Excellence series, the series that you and I created, WorkNet Solution and AWDC created together. So for example, we may have a class that they're doing those hard skills 4 days a week, and then on Fridays, our staff is coming in and doing those essential skills. And we're doing it throughout the whole training, because one of the things about these essential skills is not something you could just teach once. You have to keep reinforcing this. So this is a way for us to also reinforce this. And the thing that we like about the Workplace Excellence series is that it's 10 different modules dealing with 12 competencies that businesses have said that they want us to have. And we can really tailor it depending on the occupation or the industry. So if there's, for example, if there's an industry that really focuses heavily on communication, that you really have to communicate. So we go a lot deeper into that one and maybe not do something else. Well, you know, the curriculum is so flexible that we can use it in different ways. We can really emphasize one of those essential skills over some of the other essential skills, even though they're all important, but some industries and some occupations require some of those different skills. We've also done this in boot camps, especially with our youth population, as we're preparing them to go into summer jobs, that we have them go through a boot camp. And part of that boot camp is career exploration so that they know what careers that they may want to go into so we can better connect them to summer employment. But we also do that soft skills training because when we put them, assign them to a business or connect them to a business, we want them to have those essential skills. And that has been something that we've noticed that businesses are coming back to us every year asking for youth because they are prepared. They do have those essential skills. So we do that in a boot camp model so that they can, those young people can get those skills before they go to a work assignment.
I'll just interject that there are also businesses that are using this series. So employers really, really value these skills. And if they have an easy way to teach it, like they can reach out to your organization, the local workforce organization, and have people come in, have you come in to teach their incumbent workers, which they don't call incumbent workers, their employees, these skills. Because once they start hiring people who have those stronger skills, they realize that some of the people they've hired didn't take those classes, don't have those soft skills. So BMW is actually using the Workplace Excellence Series at the front and back end of their apprenticeship programs. There's some businesses in the upper Midwest. Taco Bell is using it for onboarding and just training people up even as they start their jobs or careers with Taco Bell. I've also heard of a couple of industrial employers, steel mills that are importing workers from other parts of the world because they cannot get them here. And they're embedding soft skills training in their orientation. There's a couple of healthcare organizations in Maryland that are embedding this into their orientation, their new employee training, and then taking it throughout their organization. So employers are really hungry for an easy way to teach these rather complex skills. So again, if we can step up and fill that gap, they will snap it up in a heartbeat.
And Elisabeth, as you know, that in Anne Arundel County, we've used this. We sit outside of county government. We are 501c3, so it makes us a lot easier to be able to do this than maybe some workforce boards that are part of local government. But we've also used this as a fee for service. So we go out and we deliver these trainings to the businesses. I mean, our business solutions team, when they are meeting with businesses and they're listening for some of the challenges that businesses have. And when it seems like it's one of these competencies that workplace excellence address, then what we do is that we talk to them about workplace excellence. And we could either train someone on their staff to be a facilitator for workplace excellence, or our staff goes in and will set up lunch and learns or do a half a day or a full day seminar with the businesses on these competencies. And our businesses really appreciate that because, again, you know, where most of the people listening to this are on the front end and helping people to get hired, but we still have to make sure as workforce development professionals, we're helping business all through their cycle. So not only making sure that they get the right candidate, make sure that they retain their existing workforce and grow their existing workforce. So it's been very beneficial for us to use this curriculum. So Elisabeth, you know, we talked about the workplace, that Anne Arundel County uses the Workplace Excellence Series to build those skills, those essential skills for our clients. As Arthur, what really makes this curriculum unique? And maybe talk a little bit about those different, I mentioned before, the 12 competencies. Maybe talk a little bit about those 12 competencies.
Yeah, let me start with the competencies. I will say when we set out on the journey, our goal was not, as you recall, Kirk, the goal was not to build a curriculum. The goal was to find something that would work, but we couldn't find anything that fit the bill. So a couple of things that are unique about the Workplace Excellence Series, I'll share those in a moment. And if you all want to learn more about the series, contact us. We'd be happy to have a one-on-one with you. But also, if you are looking at potential solutions or even looking to create something, I would look at the 4 things I'm going to share about what makes our system unique. First, let me just acknowledge those competencies. So there are 12 competencies, and I won't remember all of those off the top of my head, but we boiled them into 10 modules. And one of them, and I will say the ones that tended to be at the top of the list for most employers are adaptability, what we call reasonability, and communication ability. So we worked with businesses across industries because they're highly transferable. We don't need a different version. I mean, the way they show up in retail versus restaurants versus healthcare is different. But we worked with employers across industries, and we also worked with employers who were hiring at all levels, because the lack of soft skills is not an entry-level problem. It's not a youth worker problem. It's not a minimum wage job a problem. It literally exists, if you're listening to employers, all the way up the chain of command. And there is that Peter principle where we get a job because we can do it or learn it quickly enough. So we do it, and we do it well enough that we get promoted into a job where there's a learning curve, right? And we do that well enough that we get promoted. And at some point, we stop getting promoted because either we're in the right fit, or perhaps we've come to the end of our learning and we're sort of stuck there because we're not so excelling in that job that we're going to move up. And the truth is, every time we move jobs, whether it's a lateral move or an advancement, a promotion, the set of soft skills that are needed to do that job shifts a little bit. So we wanted to work with employers who were hiring at all levels and across industries. And that's what we did. So adaptability is in the top 3 to 5 of almost every business we talk to. And this is the ability to, I almost think of it like sea legs. Like if you're on a boat and you lock your knees, you're going to get thrown over or thrown down. You've got to keep your knees bent a little bit. It's about being agile. And someone put in the chat the word learning agility. This is really about work agility and being able to be present, to be open, to be listening, to understand the options, to understand how your job, why your job exists and how it touches the company mission, so you can use your job to make the company successful, seeing options, making decisions, prioritizing things. And these are not transactional. Kirk, like you said, these are not things you teach one time and people can pass the quiz, so they got it. This is teaching values and teaching perspective and helping people reason in scenarios that we haven't thought of yet and interact with people we're never going to meet. So it is more complex and not transactional as we teach it. So being adaptable is huge. And the way that shows up on different jobs will be slightly or vastly different, but that's a big one. A second big one is what we call reasonability. I always touch my head when I think that reasonability. And this is the mindset piece. It's staying positive and productive. It's also getting along with people. It's problem solving and critical thinking. This is one of the challenges with teaching soft skills. If you slice and dice it, we can teach problem solving, but that also has to do with getting along, which also has to do with mindset, which also has to do with so many other things, critical thinking. So we've woven it together in a piece called Reasonability, which is teaching foundational strategies, simple, powerful strategies that will let individuals going into workplaces we've never been in, that we're never going to be in, to help them really shine. So reasonability, that's huge for employers. And another one that's often near the top is communication, which can also be seen as a hard skill, right? It's technical. There are ways, strategies to improve it that are pretty concrete. But it's at the top of almost every soft skills list. Verbal communication, nonverbal communication, which is really kind of a different animal now that we're in a virtual world, and written communication. I read an article the other day. It was in the Morning Brew, which is a really good newsletter about the economy. And it was citing a Microsoft study. And it's just acknowledging what we're experiencing. And that is, so much of our communication in the workplace is asynchronous. You know, we're not meeting around the staff room table. We're not having lunch together. We're not grabbing coffee. We're not bumping into each other in the hallway. All of that is gone. We are Zooming, we're having phone calls, and those are synchronous, but something is lost. So increasingly, we have asynchronous communication in the workplace, and that means we're texting, we're emailing, we're slacking, and so much is lost when we communicate that way. We can't see tone and inflection and nonverbals. So helping people communicate well, verbally and nonverbally, and then in written. When we did the research, I was a little surprised to hear from so many employers how important written communication is, especially for jobs that don't officially require written communication. These are not editing jobs. They're not grant writing jobs. They're not resume writing jobs. It's every job across every industry at all levels, because so much of our communication these days is through email, and the state of writing in America is not great. And so I will admit that the Writability module is the one that we sell the least of. It is least used by organizations across the country, but it's still at the top of employer lists. It can feel a little pie in the sky, maybe, like we'll get to that later, but employers really want us to get to it sooner. So adaptability, reasonability, communication ability, those rise to the top. The other competencies and modules are presentability, understanding the company image and sort of playing within those boundaries. Suitability, which is understanding the company culture and really shining again within sort of that sandbox. Respectability, which is all about thriving in multi-generational work teams, not just surviving or enduring them, but really thriving. It turns out that multi-generational teams have advantages that mono-generational teams don't have. They have huge blind spots. So how can we thrive in that? Transitionability. This is another one that's been really impacted by COVID. Transitionability is about making a move into or within the workforce, but it really is about balancing, blending our home life and our work life. And that's really been rocked by COVID, as we know. So those skills are increasingly important. So those are some of the competencies that employers asked us to address. And that's how they're showing up in our particular solution, which is the Workplace Excellence Series. So what makes it, yeah, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No,
well, the things that make it unique, and this is just our reality, but again, if you're looking for a solution or thinking about creating one, watch for these. We saw a lot on the market that was not great. Honestly, as a business owner, I was thinking, who wrote this curriculum? It was very either academic, sometimes it felt juvenile, sometimes it was really corporate, but it didn't feel like it was for workforce development by workforce development, didn't really fit. But the other thing is the employer's perspective was absent. It felt like whoever wrote it didn't hire people, didn't manage a business, didn't supervise people. So our system includes a heavy dose, a respectful dose of the employer's perspective, the business perspective. Make sure that that's present in whatever soft skills system that you use, because in the end, it's the employer who decides whether or not we're hitting the mark and the individual candidates are hitting the mark. And if they don't buy it, it doesn't work. And frankly, neither will our clients, right? So the employer's perspective. A second really cool thing that we've woven into ours that I would recommend for whatever you're using is, soft skills are not what we know. It's not knowledge. We're not teaching head knowledge. Nobody cares if they can pass the quiz about what it means to be on time or get along. We have to move the learning from their head into their heart, into their hands, so that they can react and respond in a split second. We're talking about the alarm goes off and do I snooze again? Or the coworker loves your idea so much they actually tell everybody it's theirs. It's those moments where you're thinking, what? Or a customer flies off the handle and does something totally unexpected. Like, these are the moments that we're trying to help impact. So our system is built on brain science and research that teaches us about how humans actually learn. So accelerated teaching, accelerated learning, we want to make sure it's engaging, that it's interactive, and that it's applied. They've got to apply it in the learning environment so they can take it out of that environment into the job search or onto the job. So that's a second very unique thing about our system. It's built on brain research about accelerated teaching and learning. And one last thing I'll just sneak in here because it's something we're adding. We're about to take the whole series and just sort of run it through a new perspective. And in January, we're going to launch a new version to make sure everything's very current. And one of the things we're going to weave through it is habit building. I think it makes sense to think of soft skills as habits. It's not what we do, it's sort of how we do it. It's how we show up and do anything that we do. And so if we can teach it almost as habit building, it's going to stick faster and last longer. So based on, there's so much fascinating research happening right now around habit building. I'm a big fan of James Clear and the book Atomic Habits. We'll capitalize on that and the research that he used to make sure, imagine teaching any of your job-seeking clients. I'm thinking of the Youth Symposium in December and young people to see this as habit building for work and for life success.
No, Elizabeth, that's all right on point. And you know, the way that Arundel Workforce Development Corporation got connected to you and continue to work with you and ask you to build this series is because of your perspective of looking at it from the business. You know, we are very passionate about our job seekers and really working with our job seekers. But we also in workforce development, we have to realize that we serve two customers and businesses and really making sure that we're giving businesses that right employee. So teaching our clients to think like a business person and to think that, you know, when someone hires you, they may be paying you $20 an hour, but you need to be making them at least $40 an hour. So that is one of the things that we're really proud about this curriculum in this series is that it really teaches our job seekers to think like a business. And we have stories after stories where we've seen that this really, that, you know, our clients that go through this series really get that and really implement that. We've had stories that when clients have told us they started saying something, then they thought about what we taught them and they changed their wording and their approach to a problem. So it's very, very important.
Can I share a story?
Sure, please, go right ahead.
So I teach trainers to teach this series, but sometimes I get to work with job seekers as well. And I do that as often as I get to. And I was working with a group actually in Maryland. And so this employer perspective is woven throughout our whole series, but we didn't want to be subtle. So there's actually a whole module called Workability. It's one of my favorites. And it's really about thinking like the employer. One of the things we say is we talk about the unwritten rules of the work culture or the unspoken expectations. And I think what AAWDC did when they launched this is just to realize, why should it be unspoken? Why is it unwritten? Why is this so mysterious? And part of it is, I mean, Kirk just said, you want $20, you got to be worth 40 just to keep your job. You actually have to be worth 60 if you want to raise your promotion. Right. As a business owner, I like to hire people who make at least 3 times what I'm paying them. Because if I pay them 10, they don't cost me 10, right? We can get into all that, but they cost me closer to 20. I want 40, and maybe I want 60. I know entrepreneurs and business owners who say, I like to hire people who make me 5 to 10 times what I'm paying them. How do we teach people that? This module breaks it down. So I was once teaching in Maryland, and I was teaching through Workability. And at the end of the workshop, we were all up and moving and trying things out and applying ideas. And it was very interactive and fun. And at the end, I had people share what's been really powerful for you and what are you going to do with it, right? Lessons and commitments. And one woman said, you know, I've worked all my life. It's just been more recently I've fallen on some hard times. I've been out of the workforce. This is all very new to me. I've worked from the time I was 14 years old. And she said, I have never, ever thought about what I cost my employers. I've never thought about being worth more than I'm being paid. And she said, even though I'm a great worker, I feel like I want to go back to everyone I ever worked for and just sort of apologize for not having that. But she said, I have a question. I've got an interview, you know, on Thursday. Can I mention this in the interview? Can I tell them, I understand I need to be worth at least 3 times what you're paying me? Can we brainstorm some ways that I can do that? Or I've been thinking about ways, if I get to be your next, whatever her job target was, that I can do that. I mean, can I talk about this? And I said, yes, this is the point. It doesn't have to be mysterious. And if our candidates start saying to an employer, look, I understand if you're paying me 15 bucks an hour, I'm costing you 20, 25, maybe 30, and I have to be worth at least 30. My goal is to be worth at least 50. How do I do that? Let's brainstorm. Employers are just like, be still my beating heart. And right now, employers, they're open. I mean, they'll take anybody who's willing to pay a signing bonus to work at Burger King. But when this tidal wave comes, that will not be the case. And what will make the difference when our clients have a ton of competition, which they will, is the soft skills and the employer perspective. And right now we have this golden moment. Here's the truth. A lot of the people that we're working with right now, they can get jobs that they could not have gotten in February 2020, and that they're not going to be able to get in 6 months because the market will tighten up. But it's this golden moment. If they have the soft skills, if they think like the employer, employers will scoop them up. They can probably get a better job and maybe negotiate the higher end of the pay scale. And then they can grow into a job they won't be able to get in 6 months.
And that's true. And, one of the approaches that we've taken with this, of course, right now it's about getting people that job, but we really want to set people up for success throughout their whole career. So these are those skills that will carry them throughout their whole career. They may be starting at an entry point job, but as they move up, these are those important skills. And again, like you said, this is attitude, and people to be able to demonstrate that they have these soft skills. It's easy for people to come in and say it, but to be able to demonstrate this and to live this. So we're talking about changing people's attitude. We're talking about giving people a skill that will carry them throughout their whole career. So
there's another thought I want to share, and you and I were talking about it the other day. And for all of us, we're talking about job-seeking individuals, unemployed individuals, people who are going to have to flood back into the market. But I just want to remind us, again, soft skills isn't an entry-level problem. It really happens all the way up the chain of command. And you're about to have probably a bigger stream of sort of professional level clients than you might have had in the past, right? Because so many people have been disconnected from the workforce, and we've got the great, what do they call it? Great resignation. People resigning, people are quitting, people are recasting the vision of what they want for their lives. And when they discover your services, you're going to have all kinds of professional level clients that you may not have served before. And I just want to remind us, they need the soft skills too. They've experienced this year and a half of COVID. I don't want to say they've lowered their standards, but we've all drawn lines in new and unique places. I was talking to a professional woman the other day, and she had just gone on sort of her first group activity with a bunch of people back in that pocket. It was like June, July, when we all thought we could come up for air and not have to go back in. But she went on this event with all these people, and she came back and she and I were talking, and she said, I was sort of shocked at my behavior. Everyone annoys me. I do not behave well anymore. I can't turn off the camera and pretend I'm listening when I'm really rolling my eyes or getting my lunch. And she said, I have to relearn how to people. And this is a grown professional woman. So don't assume that there are people who don't need this. Don't assume they need it, but do an assessment. Take a look at it from the employer's perspective. A lot of us need to refigure this out. So this is not just for your unemployed job seekers. It'll be for lots of others, or your traditional job seekers, but for those new ones as well.
Elisabeth, you're 100% correct on that. And that's one of the reasons that, we love this curriculum and we use it, and we're continuing to use it. We know that we're going to get more professionals coming in, and we know that people have been isolated for 19 months now, and be able to show up to work in their pajamas, or show up in front of a video camera in their pajamas, be able, like you said, I love your analogy, be able to turn the camera off to roll your eyes when your colleague says something. But, people are going to get back together. And we've seen that. Unfortunately, we've seen that this isolation has shown people that they don't know how to act in public sometimes. This is why you're seeing more people acting up on airplanes and different things like this. So it is that important, it's that much more important that we are reintroducing people to these skills. Even if they had them before, we need to reintroduce them. And that's what's making something like essential skills something that's crucial that workforce development should be investing in making sure that they're preparing their clients with. So Elisabeth, you and I, we've had this conversation several times, and we finally have done some studies on this, but some of our competition out there that's using curriculum, they want to do it online. Is soft skills, these essential skills, something you can teach online, or is this something that you really have to do in person with your clients?
Well, we have to be adaptable. So we've been forced in this situation to think about it a little bit differently. But what I will say is when we did our original research, which really was sitting at the feet of all these businesses, trying to understand the gap and the need and how to fill it, one of the things they were adamant about is that they wanted these skills to be taught in the environment in which they, the businesses, need them to come to life. They were very clear that they wanted us to teach these skills live in person because for the most part, certainly at that point, work is a live group human interaction. So we want to teach these in live group human interactions. Now, fast forward with COVID, we've had to be creative. I just got to say, and this is like a direct quote from an employer that we were working with, teaching uniquely human skills by computer is like antithetical. It just doesn't make any sense, right? But now that we've got COVID here, we've had to push into it and get really creative. There are some things about, and I have a lot of expertise in virtual training. I train trainers across our industry, but also in healthcare and sales and all over the world. I train trainers on how to be better trainers with all the brain science stuff I was referring to, but also how to do that well virtually. And there are ways to do it better and even great. I was talking to a colleague the other day and she's sort of evaluating all this virtual training and she was saying how bad it was, but she said it's not because virtual training is bad, it's because they weren't great trainers to begin with. So turning on the Zoom camera didn't make them great. So there are ways to train great when it comes to virtual. And we get things like spaced learning and people who are not resourced, who are rural or don't have transportation. Like there are some real advantages. So we're trying to push into all of that. We're teaching all of our facilitators how to be great virtual trainers as well. And we're really watching that balance of when can we do this live and in person? When do we have to do it virtually and maximizing both? I think the other thing is, if employers want us to teach this in the environment where they, the businesses, need it to come to life, increasingly that's virtual. So we are adapting, but these are uniquely human skills, and we cannot just open a Zoom link and do an average training and think that it's going to move from their head to their heart to their hands. It's a whole other animal.
And like I said, we thought about this. We've looked at different ways of doing this, and hearing from our clients, and I mean, we have clients in over almost 30 states that are using this curriculum, and hearing from them and getting feedback from them, they really believe that they have the most successes when they do this with their clients right there.
And that surprised me. We recently in the last several months, talked to a lot of our clients, and I did assume they all wanted some online version of this, and none of them do. They all want to push into some sort of creative live virtual or a hybrid. And that surprised me only because of the need for convenience, not because online is better than live. But you're right. Across the country, people said, nope, we're going to figure out how to make it much more interactive, real-time, and relevant than that. So no online version at this point. It's too snoozy. It's too easy to just disconnect.
Yeah, I agree. Oh. So thank you, Elisabeth. Thank you for being part of this with me and sharing with us. Before we open this up to questions, open up questions from the audience. Can you talk a little bit about how people can connect to you and what's that process in starting to use the Workplace Excellence series?
Yeah, I'd say there's three things to think about. One is I'd love to help you explore the series and whether it's the right solution for you. So you can go to the Workplace. It's Workplace workplaceexcellenceseries.com. And just go to the contact page. That'll drive right to me and to our team. We would love to hear from you. We'll set up a one-on-one time and get to know what are your realities and your goals and help you get to know the series. We can send out some samples. We'll help you get oriented. If you decide you'd like to use it, you come to a certification event. Right now, that's virtual. It's super fun. And you learn not only the series, but also Crash Course and Thinking Like the Employer, an amazing training in accelerated teaching and learning, and how to do it virtually. So it's this cool event. We're doing one in October. We're doing one in November. So we can get you into that certification event. And then you can purchase the curriculum and start using it with all your job-seeking clients, your staff, if we need to kick it up a notch as well, and local employees at companies. If employers are hiring people they might not otherwise have hired, so they may want you to come in and train up their existing workforce as well. So reach out to me through the website, workplaceexcellenceseries.com, and we'll go from there.
Very good. And Elisabeth, again, thank you very much for being a great partner. Thank you for being a good subject matter expert and so passionate about this topic and being a leader in this. So right now, we'll just go ahead and open up to any questions. Real quick, I'll look and see if there's any, we can look and see if there's anything in the chat that we did not touch on.
And JC, if you've been watching the chat, if there are questions, maybe you could post them again here so we could see them real easily.
Yeah, we went through there. I think we've touched on everything. So we'll just open it up to our clients. Yeah. I mean, to our to the participants on here, and see if there's any questions that they may have.
What are you curious about?
So let me start it and just open this up to a conversation. Or is anyone on this call using a curriculum for soft skills or making soft skills a priority in what they're doing to train and prepare their clients?
And I think you can unmute and share out if you'd like to. You can also drop it in the chat if that feels more comfortable.
So Kirk, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Constance Green from Virginia. I'm at the state level, but I do know that some of our local areas have invested in hiring contractors to do some soft skills training for their participants in the Title I programs. So it's happening just on an individual, local board, small scale basis.
And Constance, do you know, are they bringing their own curriculum or are they interviewing local businesses? How do they know what it is employers want them to be addressing?
So the ones I'm familiar with are bringing their own curriculum, yes. And I'm not terribly familiar with how engaged they are with businesses. I would assume they would claim to be so. And I don't know on firsthand whether or not that's being done and is at as strong a level as that you all have been discussing. So that's certainly an opportunity area for us.
Well, thank you, Constance. I mean, thanks for sharing that. We know we have several clients in Virginia, especially in the Ty Ward area, that's using the Workplace Excellence series, and also in Richmond, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, across Virginia. Yeah, there's a lot.
Across Virginia,
yeah.
My second home state.
And in Virginia, the series is being used with lots of different job seekers, including immigrant job seekers. So learning the sort of U.S. work culture in a way that is sort of very tactical and respectful has been a huge sort of blessing to them. The Workplace Excellence series is available in English. It's also available in Universal Spanish. And if you habla español, you know that Puerto Rican Spanish is different than Castilian Spanish is different than Cuban Spanish. And so we worked hard to create a sort of universal Spanish that will resonate with various Spanish speakers. And then it's also available in an accessible version for learners who are hearing and or sight impaired. So note that if that's a part of your need.
And Elizabeth, I know at one time in Anne Arundel County, we created a youth handbook that kind of really made it easier for our clients to be able to implement this within their summer jobs program. So that's also available for individuals who want to use it for your summer job programs. If you like Anne Arundel County, we are taking about a month break. We just finished our summer jobs program for the summer of 2021, but we're immediately going into planning for summer jobs 2022. And for those workforce areas that have ARPA funds, that is one of the things that the Treasury is looking at is summer employment. So there is more money out there to do summer employment. So I know the workforce organizations in the state of Maryland are looking at having larger summer youth programs than they normally do because of the available funding.
And if you're on the line and you're planning, or some of your team is going to be at the Youth Development Symposium in Chicago, we will be there. And maybe that's a chance for us to meet up and talk shop and see, especially about your youth programs, but your adult programs as well. I will certainly be teaching on another topic, but you could come and see that interactive, brain-based, accelerated learning in action. And we are waiting to hear back, but hopefully we will also be teaching about not just soft skills, but that habit building aspect that we're going to be weaving in. It's powerful, it's practical and powerful. Love it. So if you're going to be in Chicago, let us know and we can get together then.
So just before we end, just want to see if there's any more questions that Elisabeth or myself can answer for you, or, the curriculum, the importance of soft skills, or how you implement them in your workforce programs.
I'm also curious if you are hearing from employers about soft skills that we haven't mentioned. I'd love to hear those. Unmute and share out or pop it in the chat. Are you hearing other soft skill needs from employers that we haven't mentioned? One module we might add when we do our brush up this winter here is learnability. And we have adaptability, which is about being adaptable and resilient, but the ability to learn well, to know your learning style. We don't all learn the same. We don't all have to learn the same, although sometimes it's prescribed by our companies. But being able to learn really well is like a superpower. I wish soft skills were called superpowers. That's actually what we should call them. Superpowers, not essential soft skills, because that sounds, stronger. But learnability. So that's one I haven't mentioned that we may add. Are there other ones that come to mind for you that we haven't mentioned? All right, share if it comes to mind if you wish.
Learning to be lifelong learners is key, as someone just put in the chat, Elizabeth. You want to touch a little bit on that? I mean, that is something that we do hear a lot as a priority of workforce development, people being lifelong learners.
In my work with employers, one of the things I hear them saying is we need people who can do the job or learn it quickly enough. And those are two very different things. You come with the experience, the education, the proof, you can do the job, or you can learn it quickly enough, which means you have raw talent and the ability to mobilize and add to that raw talent quickly enough. And for some jobs, the learning curve is 3 hours. In some jobs, it's years. I mean, the work that we do in the workforce system, we are still, unfortunately, one of the best kept secrets in so many communities where we serve. But the work that we do is complex, and it requires knowledge and empathy and so much. And the learning curve is certainly months, if not years. So the ability to learn is invaluable. And in fact, if an employer would rather hire somebody who knows a lot and has lots to learn before they hire a know-it-all. Somebody who has tons of expertise and tons of experience, but they've been there, done that, know it all. Not attractive, not teachable. Literally, employers would rather have someone who knows less and can learn more. So it's very attractive. It's very powerful. Increasingly, as the world moves faster. So, I mean, they say that what the average college student learns now for so many industries and so many degrees, what we learn in our senior year, what we learn in our freshman year is obsolete by our junior or senior year. So it's about learning to learn, not just mastering some knowledge.
So Elizabeth, another quote that we just had in the chats is around dislocated workers and helping them to build their confidence as well. So how can this curriculum, or how can teaching them about soft skills really help them build their confidence?
Yeah, and when we work with dislocated workers, some of them transition quite well, but those who do not, one of the things that happens is they lose their confidence and they feel like they can't get back on the moving train. And new skills and new knowledge can help, but they've come to understand that it doesn't matter what they know, that can become obsolete. And I actually do a lot of work in Europe and Australia as well, and they have a phrase that they use, being made redundant. They don't say I was laid off or let go. They said I've been made redundant, which to me is just so telling. And they realize how quickly they can be made redundant, and it's scary. So coupling technical skills and new knowledge and new experiences and new skills with these highly transferable things like adaptability and communication and mindset management and the ability to learn, this makes them incredibly attractive and valuable to employers, but it also has the wonderful side effect of bolstering their confidence, because those things do not become redundant because they're skills for moving forward. They're not static knowledge. So it will equip them, but also build their confidence. Yeah. And I would probably do soft skills and then add the technical skills. I think they'll learn the technical skills better once they've got some of the soft skills in their hands.
And really what we're doing here in Anne Arundel County with dislocated workers is we're running a program called Career Restart. So it is a combination of knowing that a lot of our dislocated workers, and especially our professional dislocated workers, this may be the first time in years that they have found themselves unemployed. We're doing things with the basic career readiness stuff, resume writing, interviewing skills, using social media, using LinkedIn, using your networks, but we're weaving in those essential skills. We're weaving in different modules of the Workplace Excellence series with them. We're also looking at reframing the way that they're doing their job search as almost a campaign. You're almost like a candidate. And of course, election day is you getting that job. So doing all that marketing that you need to do, and really putting yourself out there and thinking about your brand statement and things like that. But the real part that people really do love is the soft skills part of it, and reintroducing that, because they do realize that it's important. And they may realize that sometimes in themselves, in their previous career, they didn't necessarily have those skills or use those skills all the time. So seeing the importance of it is something that we really reinforce, and it's really helped us to be successful in making sure that our clients are getting back to work as quickly as possible.
Thanks. Before we finish up, I just want to acknowledge that Nancy asked a good question in the chat. We don't have time to do it justice because I want to honor everyone's time. So I will do a quick straight to video response to that question. I'll send it out to everybody who registered. And if you want to know the answer, our thoughts on that question, Nancy and others, look for that in an email. And I'll even call it, the response to Nancy's question, and you can take it from there.
So on behalf of the Workplace Excellence Series, which is a partnership between Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation and WorkNet Solutions, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today to be part of this webinar and have this conversation about those important skills, those essential skills. I think I'm going to steal Elisabeth's line, start calling them the super skills.
Yeah, superpowers
that people need to have. So again, we want to thank you. Please, if you have any additional questions for myself or Elisabeth, please connect with us. Find out more information about the series, go to workplaceexcellenceseries.com. If you have questions for me, it's president@aawdc.org, and then Elisabeth at WorkNet Solutions.
Elisabeth with an S, not a Z, or it won't get to me.
With an S and not a Z. No wonder you never get my emails, Elisabeth.
That's it.
So again, thank you all very much for participating today. And remember, us in workforce development, we're on the front line in this recovery.
Yeah.
So not only be out there to prepare to help your clients, but please take care of yourselves. And please continue to participate in the trainings and the webinars that NADAP is providing to you. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. This was terrific.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nancy.